Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Five Star Revolution podcast with your host, CJ Price. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight on the Five Star Revolution podcast for another great episode. Don't forget to join us on Facebook, Five Star Revolution Podcast, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel right now. Turn on your notifications so you can check out all of our great episodes. Tonight, we have a very special guest all the way from Texas. His name is Axel Savage. How you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing really well, CJ. How about yourself?
Not doing too bad. Thanks for asking, and thank you for joining me here tonight. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me, man. It's a privilege.
I bet. All right. So I ask this question to every person that comes on my show because everyone has a different story. Were you a fan of wrestling growing up? And if so, who are your favorites?
I was a huge fan of wrestling growing up. I really was. To the point where my dad was just he didn't understand why I watched it. He just kept telling me, "Man, that's fake. That stuff's fake. I don't know why you watch it." But man, I was just as into it as I was into sports, football, basketball, all that. And of course, the big influences me growing up. The Monday Night Wars, NWO, Sting. There was, of course, the Attitude Era, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Shawn Michaels, The Rock. Um, but man, I remember watching as a kid. Before before my dad decided to, my uncle was actually a huge wrestling fan, and so before my dad decided to trash it, man, I remember two of my biggest influences are Macho Man Randy Savage and Rowdy Roddy Piper. Um, I've I study a lot of their stuff, and yeah,
I was gonna say Roddy Piper and Randy Savage are two great legends, true great wrestlers, and they were very good on the mic. So they're
yeah.
very good study material for sure.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and Dusty Rhodes.
Yeah,
Love
well,
Dusty Rhodes.
all three of them rest in peace for sure. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. So you were a fan of wrestling growing up. Your dad was saying, "Why are you watching this fake bull crap?" What kept you watching? What kept you going with the wrestling?
Man, honestly, it was like I don't know, the way that I've always looked at everything is like um when it comes to that is like I love movies. I love books. Big reader, big moviegoer, and like I'm entertained by it. And this is uh, not coming from a place, like I know there was a lot of controversy when Vince McMahon was like, "Oh, it's sports entertainment, not wrestling," and but now, man, if I was entertained, if it kept me in my seat and kept me glued there, like that's what I wanted. And in the era that I grew up with, they definitely knew how to do that. No matter which programming you were watching, they knew how to keep you glued to that television, and you wanted to know what was going to happen next week. And and that was it, man. The marketing that they were doing back then, that's what kept me glued.
Absolutely, WWF back in the day. For those
Hmm.
people that watched Attitude Era, it was known as WWF, and the marketing, the wrestlers, the storylines were so freaking good. Com-
And I mean, they were on late night talk shows. They were guest stars on primetime television shows. They were making movies. They were advertising. I mean, it was you couldn't look anywhere, man, in the '90s without seeing wrestling somewhere. And so,
Absolutely, man. It was all over TV, all over the news, everywhere.
yeah.
So let's skip ahead to where you started training. How did you find out about wrestling school in your area when you first started training, and who was your trainer in the beginning?
The interesting thing about that is that like me and my best friend, he lives in Kansas now. We were like constantly at the gym working out, everything, and there was a guy who oh man, it's his name's Brandon Carter, and he was a football player for Texas Tech, and he went to NXT. He was actually at NXT for a little while, and then I guess he got cut from the Performance Center, and he came back, and we were always working out around the same time he was. We saw him, and we would always just talk with him about like getting involved in wrestling, and and how we could do it, and we wanted to do it. And my wife was just like, "What? Like, what is this? Like you have a career. You don't need to be chasing after a wrestling dream." And actually, he moved away, and he was my workout buddy, and so I didn't have anybody to work out with at the gym, and I got tired of working out by myself, and these guys that I worked with at the prison started inviting me to independent wrestling shows, which I didn't even know existed in my area. I hadn't heard about it. Nobody had invited me before. And so I just started asking questions like, "Hey, do y'all work out together?" They were like, "Yeah, man, we have training, we have this and that." And I was like, "Huh." So I was really just looking for a group of guys at that point to work out with. I'd kind of given up on the thought of ever getting into a ring. I just, wanted something to keep me motivated, to keep me in shape. And the first show that I was invited to, that they asked me to work security, because I had told them I might be interested in training, I fell back in love with the business of wrestling, man. It reminded me, the company that I still train with and that I still work for, mostly in this area, is, like, it took me back. The nostalgia of the Monday Night Wars, the Attitude Era mixed with the, WCW. It was everything that I grew up and loved. And so I just knew I wanted to be a part of it. I knew that night I was like, I'm going to get in the ring. I'm going to do this. So
So when you first stepped into the ring and you started training, how did you feel? How was your body? Because when I started training, I was like, holy shit, this ring is fucking hard.
yeah, yeah. And the funny thing is like, and now I help our. I don't want to call myself an assistant trainer because I've only been in the business 3 years. I have no business training people, but I do help train some of our new recruits, some of our greenhorns, as we like to call them. And and I tell them the same thing that was told to me, and I actually paid attention to it, which was, it's gonna hurt, you're gonna be sore, your body has to get used to it. It's not natural. A lot of the things that you learn, it's not natural, and it's gonna fucking hurt. It's gonna suck. And I knew that. I knew it was. And the only kind of sports I'd really been involved in were, contact sports, but it was, we had on shoulder pads, we had on helmets, we had on stuff like that for football. And the only intramurals I'd done after that were like softball and flag football. So I didn't really have to worry about, uh,
Oh, we
sorry,
lost. It's okay.
sorry, my boss is trying to call me. I'll text her back in a little bit. Um, but anyway, um, yeah, so uh, yeah, I didn't really have to worry about contact, especially not without pads or whatever. And so yeah, my body was sore, but I knew, I trusted the guys that were telling me that your body would get used to it and that it would get better. And so I just kept on, because I felt motivated again. I felt like I could truly stick to a diet and I could truly stick to a workout regimen because now I had a reason to. And yeah, man, it was just it was crazy. But yeah, I mean, just sticking through the pain. I mean, it's there. Something I've heard a lot of wrestlers say that I really appreciate, and I actually quoted a lot on my own Facebook page, is that you'll always wrestle hurt, but don't wrestle injured. There's a difference between being sore and being physically immobile. So uh, I've had to sit myself out a few times. I've hurt my shoulder to the point where I thought there was something really wrong. I went and got it checked out, things like that. And that was a big thing for me, is that I know my limits, and and I think most people do. Um, but I know some close personal friends of mine who have had to step away for long periods of time because they were a little more hurt than they realized, and they kept pushing through it. And when they finally got it checked out, they had to take some time off. So, uh, yeah, anybody who's looking to get involved, man, that's it. I mean, you have to stick through the pain. It's gonna hurt. It's gonna fucking suck, but it is worth it, man. To feel that rush that I get coming through the curtain, man, it's amazing.
So to piggyback off that, what do you say to those people who think wrestling is fake, like your dad?
Bro, like, that's the thing, man. I had this conversation at work the other day. she was like, "Oh, were you doing your fake play wrestling this weekend?" I was like, "Man, don't you ever call it fake. Don't you ever call it fake." Uh, because man, like that's I was like, I don't, oh man, I'm about to piss some people off, but I take more risk with my body with minimal padding on. I might have knee pads on. That's about it. I take those risks falling on that plywood or on those, 2x4s or whatever happens to be underneath the ring, with that little bit of padding. It's like people are like, oh, well, it feels like you're falling in a trampoline. No, the fuck it doesn't. It hurts. It sucks. And, and I don't know. I'm sitting there and I'm like, they have all these rules in football to not let people get hurt. They get to wear, huge amounts of padding and this and that, and they've got concussion protocols and da 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 da. We don't have all that. And yeah, sure, we're not trying to kill the people that we're in the ring with. It's but they're not that's what they take measures to protect the players in football, and that's all we do that's different is we take measures to protect each other. Yes, but it still fucking hurts. You can't take a chair shot and it not hurt. You can't go through a table and it not hurt. You can't fall from any amount of feet off the ground and it not hurt. So yeah.
Absolutely, my friend. I totally agree with you. You can't fake gravity, and you can't fake a human slamming you on the ground. There's no way you can fake that.
Yeah, absolutely not.
So let's fast forward to the Axel Savage character. Who is Axel Savage, and what is the character about?
The character has actually evolved quite a bit. I don't know. I wanted to be a lot different uh, when I first started. I had a lot of ideas, a lot of things I wanted to do. A lot of them were probably really bad ideas, and some of them were really bad ideas, and they let me run with them. Uh, and so now I look back at some of the ones that they told me I couldn't do, and I'm like, maybe that would have worked better than the crap y'all did let me run with. So, um, but man, Axel Savage, it's really just me turned up to 11. That's all it is. It's a boy from Texas who likes to dress like a rock star. I like to put bright colors in my hair. I like to wear bright colored clothing. I like to mess with people. I like to talk trash. And you get in my face, you better be ready for a fight. I mean, that's me as a human. You don't mess with my family, you don't mess with my kids. Uh, and I mean, it really, and all I do is just accentuate every bit of me when I get out there. I'm not afraid to, be seen with the colored pants and the tassels hanging around and the tassels on my arms and the Christmas colored hairdo, for the Christmas show that we just had. Like I'm comfortable in my own skin, but I'm a lot more comfortable when I'm performing in front of a big crowd of people. And so, yeah, it's like I said, it's me, and it's just turned all the way up.
So speaking about going in front of a big crowd of people, how do you feel before a match, before you step through that curtain? How do you feel? What's going through your head?
So, it actually took me a long time to get here. Like I said, I've only got 3 years of actual wrestling underneath my belt right now. But I kind of until about probably the last year, I approached it like game day. Like I was like, I got to get in the zone. I got to get to feeling my character. I got to get there. And I'm not saying that there's not still an element of that, because there is an element of me wanting to get in the zone and wanting to be who I need to be, for that moment. But at the same time, like, man, I'm relaxed because I'm doing something that I love. I love doing it. I'm not saying that there's not nerves, because there are. Anytime you walk out, you walk out in front of especially in a new town. These people don't know you. You have to let them get to know you. You have to do a lot of, you have to do a lot to get your character noticed and in a new area. But man, I have so much fun, and uh anybody that I work with that And there's actually a really good buddy of mine who I've worked with quite a few times. He's one of those people. He's like, don't talk to me before the match. Da 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 da. Just don't talk to me. I just got to get in my head. And I'm like, no, man, you need to get out of your head. You need to realize that we're here and we're gonna have fun. And like, yeah, we might beat the hell out of each other, but it's gonna be fun and we're gonna enjoy every fucking minute of it. And so uh yeah, that's what it is to me. And and I'm not trying to bury the business. I'm not trying to say that it's that there is definitely a competitive edge to it. There's a lot of egos that get thrown around, a lot of people, belts make a difference. People want what they want and they want it to be them. You always want to be the guy, but I have learned that me looking out for all the guys and not just myself has gotten me a lot farther in this business than me just looking out for me and me going into business for myself. Because the people that look out only for themselves, they end up getting banned. A lot of companies don't want to book them. They've got terrible attitudes, but if you go in and you can get along and you can go along to get along, I mean, it is a fun ride. And the people that talk about being miserable and and oh well, you got to be selfish, that's how Shawn Michaels made it. He only looked out for himself, and Triple H did everything he could to, and I'm like, you know what, no, like, just stop it. Because I don't want to go somewhere and have people not respect me. And the best way to earn respect is to show respect. And I have a lot of respect for this business. I protect myself every time I'm in the ring. I protect the people I'm in the ring with. I'm not going to get somebody hurt just because I want to do something that I'm not necessarily comfortable with because I think the crowd will love it. Like, I'm going to take care of the people that I'm in the ring with as well as taking care of myself. And I'll be damned if you don't do those two things, that you don't protect the business. So, uh, yeah, that's what it is for me. It's a
I
hell of a
I
lot of fun.
100% love that mentality, man. Only 3 years in the business, you've learned a lot, and you should keep that mentality, man. Because if you look after others and yourself, you'll make it far in this business. Not just for yourself, but look after others. I agree with that.
Yeah, hell yeah. And honestly, like I said, I don't want to call myself an assistant trainer because I have no business doing that. But it's a big thing that I push for the new guys when I'm out there. And it's a big reason why my trainer trusts me to be out there, why I have a key to the training facility, why I get to go out there sometimes when he's not there and take them through drills, because he knows I'm not going to let them. I'm not going to let, they might get hurt if they hurt each other, but if they're in there with me, I'm not going to hurt them. And he knows that. He puts me in the ring with the people that he doesn't want to get hurt. Because, he gets in the ring with me because he knows I'm not going to hurt him. And that's and like, there's a time to hurt, and training's not it. Like, there's a check and receipt when it comes to this business. And, sometimes somebody steps out of line and you got to step right back, give them a little taste of their own medicine, but that's it. You got to leave it at that. You can't lose your cool. You can't go into business for yourself. You can't try to choke somebody out because you think that it looks cool in front of people. Because the thing about it is that a shoot fight outside of the UFC in a wrestling ring in front of a crowd looks like dog shit. So there's no reason. There's no reason for it. There's no purpose in having it. There was hazing that I've seen and heard about for so long that certain people did, and that the shit that Nick Gage did to David Arquette made me sick. Trying to slit somebody's throat. Like, I get it, you're in a death match, but come on, man. Like, you don't think he deserves to be in the ring with you, or you don't want him in the ring with you, but yeah, you're gonna pull some shit like that. Like, that shit makes me sick. It really does. And I'm just not that kind of person. I'm not ever gonna be that kind of person. Uh, I'm not gonna kick somebody's ass who doesn't deserve it. Now, if you deserve it, sure. But if you're just new to the business, why the hell would I do that? People didn't do it to me. My trainer says, well, the only reason people didn't do it to you is because you're so damn big. And I'm like, well, I'm just saying, like, if I got hit in the mouth, I'd hit them right back in the mouth, and that was it. But because I had respect for them, I earned their respect, and that was it. There's no reason for me to wall off and beat the hell out of somebody for no reason. It's not. I don't know. I just like to have fun.
So with 3 years in the business, you're still paying your dues. You're still learning the ropes. How do you deal with backstage politics?
Man, I don't know who's all gonna watch this, and I mean, I'm gonna push it, and I'm gonna promote it, and I'm gonna share it. So, but there is, man, politics. Oh, man, I try to keep my damn nose out of it. I really do. And and I get accused of brown nosing just because like I said, my trainer trusts me and he has me out there with certain people, so he respects my opinion. But he doesn't take everything I say as gold, and I don't expect him to. I don't think every idea I have is gold, but I do know that if me and him start throwing around some stuff, he's going to say something that's going to trigger something in me, and I'm going to say something that's going to trigger something in him, and then we're going to come up with something that's fucking badass. And that's the way that I feel like things should go. But then there are just certain people, man, that they have their idea and they think their idea is the only good idea. They don't want to see anybody else's idea. Uh, or they've seen somebody run with their idea and then that person hates it, but they don't care that that person hates it because all they can see is, hey, look, they're doing my idea, so now I own that idea. So it's all about me, it's all about building their ego. And I've seen it so much. And I try to stay out of it, man. It's like I know that I have good ideas and I know I have bad ideas. And the best ideas that I've seen, as far as just attitudes and things like that, as far when it comes to politics, is, man, be open minded. Be willing to do what you need to do to make it better, and don't just pigeonhole yourself, because that's all you're doing if you think your idea is the best idea. And I've done it to myself. Like I've been involved in matches where I was like, no, this is the way, like this is gonna work, this is gonna get over, and it fell flat as hell. The crowd didn't give a shit. And so, yeah, you got to be teachable, man. You got to be willing to learn something new. You got to be willing to get outside of your comfort zone a little bit. Um, and yeah, man, I've had some really great teachers around me. Not just the seminars I've gone to, not just my trainer, but just listening to everybody. And that's what we tell the guys that are training. Just listen. Shut the hell up. You don't know anything yet, and you're not going to until you listen. And that was one of the biggest compliments that I got early on in the ring, was like, man, that dude listens. He listens. And that got me really far. It got a lot of companies talking about me. It got a lot of people. There were companies I was getting booked at because of a company that I worked for that people told me not to. They were like, "Oh, don't work for them. That company's trash. They don't bring in any money. They don't have, uh, they don't draw a crowd." But this guy started a company, and he used to work at that company. He draws huge crowds. He heard from them that I'm a great guy and that I listen and that I'm talented. And next thing I know, I'm working a show in front of 500 people because I worked a show over here in front of 20 people. Like it was, and that's the thing, is because I wasn't a fucking asshole. I didn't walk into that place and wrestle in front of 20 people and think I was better than that and think I deserved better than that, because I needed to learn. I needed to shut up and I needed to listen. And I did. And so that gave me the opportunity to go and wrestle in the first ever Texas Indie Pro Wrestling, was all because of a connection I made wrestling in front of 20 people, not too far from home. So,
Very
just
well
don't
said, my friend. Very
don't
well,
be a dick.
very well said. So this is the portion of the podcast where I challenge the wrestler, if you can, to cut a promo for me in character for about 30 seconds on anything you would like. You think you could do it?
Oh, on anything I would like, huh? Yeah. Yeah, I think I can.
Whenever you're ready, my friend.
Ladies and gentlemen, you all know me. I'm the Texas Nightmare, Axel Savage. And I am cutting this promo right now on this podcast because I want to take AEW Rampage to the next level. And they will reach the next level when they reach out to me. When you add the Texas Nightmare, Axel Savage, to any program, you are guaranteed a show to die for, a show that will give all the men nightmares and will appear in all the ladies' dreams. So I say, make Rampage great again.
Is that part of your gimmick?
No, man, that's actually one of my buddies. But I bought it, man. He was selling those hats at the last show we did, and I was like, oh man, I have to have it because he's one of the first guys I worked for in the business, and he's become a really good close friend, and he was selling those hats, and I was like, man, I want one of those because Rampage is actually the name of the company that I train with and work for here in Lubbock,
Oh,
and
okay.
his character is like a he's like a white rapper that makes a lot of money and wears gold chains, and this hat is black and gold. So uh and my wife hates black and gold, but I was like, I love Ben Wash, I love Benjamin Washington, I have to get one of those hats, and so I got one. And I was just sitting here thinking like, I looked over here and saw the hat, I'm like, yeah, I can do this.
So speaking about life, you said that you have a wife, you have kids, and you have a shoot job. How do you balance that? How do you balance wrestling with your normal life?
The best part about it is that so I'm a registered nurse. I've been a nurse for about 12 years, and um, I I currently have a boss that told me I don't care what color your hair is as long as you show up to work. And so I've been able to, be able to go crazy with it at work as well as keep it for for wrestling, which was a cool thing because it's something I've wanted to do for a long time. But I worked at a lot of different places that were like, no, no, you can't color your hair, or if you do, you have to wear a hat or a scrub cap or something. So so that was good. But I mean, man, my family is so important to me. I love my wife with all my heart, and my two kids. My son, just like that kid hung the moon. And my daughter is just adorable as much as she is a little shit. And and they love to watch me wrestle. And so I find that part pretty easy. Um, but at the same time, I know, and me and my wife have had this conversation. If I really wanted to put in the work to make it and to make it, to truly try to pursue being on AEW or WWE, more than just like an extra role or something like that. That it would take a lot more than really what I'm willing to give, because I don't want to be away from my family. And so yeah, I work mostly local. I take opportunities when they're given to me. Like I said, I've worked for small companies that have gotten me into bigger places that I was pretty excited about. I've been to seminars that have gotten me noticed, um, by bigger companies. But I also know in my heart of hearts, that I do love this business and I love wrestling, and I plan to continue doing it probably until I physically can't anymore. Um, but I don't have any huge aspirations. I don't think that I'm going to take the opportunities when they come, but I'm not sacrificing time away from my family, because I do have a career and I have a good career. And I know what those developmental contracts pay, and I make a lot more than that currently. Uh, so it's like it's rough. But then I see people like Britt Baker, and she's a fucking dentist, man, and she's doing her thing. But she had to do she did the dental thing first, but it was always kind of in the back of her mind. She kept trying, she kept training. And you know so like I said, if opportunities arise, I've actually done interviews for like possible developing television shows, and stuff like that. And I'm like, who knows if anything's going to come out of it, if anything's going to come from it. But if it does, that's great. But at the same time, I love my kids, and I love getting to go to my son's t-ball games, and I love getting to watch my you know just watch them grow up. I had a dad that was always there for me, and I lost him a couple of years ago. And uh So, I don't want to miss a moment with my kids that I don't have to. Um, and so, yeah, it's definitely it's God first actually, and then it's family, and uh, and then it's wrestling. My love for wrestling will always be there. Me and my son like to watch AEW. Luchasaurus is like his favorite. He loves dinosaurs and he loves wrestling, and so he's just like right up there with me. Is what he says. He's like, "You're my favorite," and then it's Luchasaurus. So, um, yeah, I don't know, man. I love the business and I don't plan on walking away from it. But like I said, but my family is very important to me, and my career. Not saying that my career is not important to me, but I can't really keep my house and all that if I don't, have a 9 to 5. Yeah.
I appreciate your honesty, my friend, and I love that mindset with your family being first. A lot of these wrestlers nowadays, they sacrifice a lot just to be successful in this business. But I love the way you think, and I know that you know where you stand in life. So I appreciate the honesty.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the thing is like, and I'm inspired by people like the Young Bucks who like go on their last paycheck and they're like, man, this is it. This is our last tour. This is our last go. We're gonna retire. We're gonna go get regular jobs. But so you know what? Let's go do what we do and do it. Turn it up to 11 and just be jerks, be dicks, too sweet. Everybody, tell everybody to suck it, and then the next thing they know, they're making enough money off merchandise that they can support their families, and that's great. If that's your story and that's what you got, but I kind of I came into the business late, later in life. And, I'd already established, a career and a family, prior to. And, so I don't, it's not, it is a dream, but it's not the end all be all, and, but my family is, and so, yeah.
Last question for me, Mr. Axel Savage. What can we expect out of you in the next 3 years? What's in your future?
Whew. Well, um, I think honestly, there are definitely big things coming, and it may just be in the Texas independent scene. Um, it may mostly be in the Texas independent scene, but there are a few states that border Texas that I'm very interested in traveling to, and that have reached out to me and are interested in having me. So when I coordinate it with my schedule and I get out there, I definitely wouldn't say that you're not going to see multiple titles hanging around my waist, singles and tag titles. As soon as my buddy gets rehabbed, he's one of the guys I told you that was, he was wrestling hurt for a while, and all love goes to him. Tino Valentino, love you, man. I hope you get better. I hope you heal quickly. Me and him, we're going to do big things. We've got something that a lot of tag teams don't, and so yeah, there's a lot of things on the horizon for me. And if my wife has her way, there will probably be another kid. So we'll see.
Well, when your tag team partner gets rehab and all better, you guys win the tag titles. I would love for you guys to come back on the podcast.
Yeah, man, absolutely.
So, where can our fans follow you on social media before I let you go?
Man, we got at the uh, Axel Savage on Instagram. We've got at the Axel Savage on Twitter. We've got Axel Savage on Facebook, and actually Axel Savage on TikTok. So yeah, there we go.
Well, there you go, folks. Go follow him on TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever you guys have. Axel Savage. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Five Star Revolution podcast. It was a true pleasure, and we wish you the best of luck in your career.
Thank you. Thank you for having
No
me.
problem, man. Thanks for joining us here tonight. Have a good night, man.
All right, you too.